got a special guest. She will be talking about natural solutions to infertility. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. Our guest is a fertility coach. She's all the way from Canada, but women are everywhere the same, and men, we sort of have the same makeup, same designer, you know. So we can really learn from different nations and from one another. So Sarah is a lovely lady with a lot of experience. She's a fertility coach, but her journey started actually with infertility problems herself. When she was 28 years, she received the diagnosis of premature ovarian failure. And then she just accepted the diagnosis and had both the children through in vitro fertilization. But years later, she realized that the root cause of infertility was a food intolerance. So that got her on an interesting journey, and she's going to tell us all about it and how she's currently helping women in a fertility clinic and the great results that she has. So I'm very excited about this show. Let's see if she's there. So I've got Sarah all the way from Canada on the line, and she's so ready to talk to us. Hey Sarah, are you there?
I'm here. Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good, good. How are you?
Good. It's unfair because it's so cold on our side of the world and you look like it's summery on that side. But most of the
Oh
time it's
yeah,
cold on your side and sunny on our side, so I can't complain
I
there.
know. Yeah, we have about a good. It's funny. It's like our spring. We don't really get the spring, and then it just goes boom right to like 30 degrees, which I prefer the heat.
I'm sure. So Sarah, it's in the morning at your side, 10 o'clock. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I have a fertility coaching business. We have a team of fertility. Oh, are you there?
Yes?
Of yeah, a team of fertility experts, including a OBGYN with who's board certified in functional medicine. We also have a team of nutrition practitioners, so functional nutrition practitioners, and fertility coaches. We really believe in a mind, body, spirit approach with fertility, and really looking at the diet and lifestyle side of things, as well as the spiritual side of things and mindset, because specifically with fertility, it can be very this is like, it's weird to watch myself speak with like I'm behind when I'm speaking, so it's like a delay. Uh, yeah, it's oh, where was I? With the mindset, it's, there's a lot of triggers. Infertility can impact all aspects of your life, so really being able to give voice to those thoughts and emotions, and having couples know that there is hope.
Wow. But that sounds really good. We at Sensitive Midwifery and Sister Lillian Center are all about the holistic approach because we are so much more than a body. We are quite complex beings, right? So
Mhm.
Sarah, and you've got a personal journey of discovery on infertility, and would you mind sharing a little bit about it? Because we do get quite a lot of questions from women in and around infertility, and I do think sometimes women suffer in silence a bit, and maybe you were that woman too. And would you mind sharing a little bit about your story?
Sure. Yeah. So I was diagnosed with premature ovarian insufficiency or failure at 28. Was told the only way I'd ever have children, my own children, would be using donor eggs. And so I remember the OBGYN, she reached over on her shelf, grabbed the brochure for IVF, and said, off you go. And I didn't get a second opinion. I had some other weird health issues going on at that time. I had yeast infections. I had a weird fungal rash on my chest. I had great skin in my teens, and all of a sudden, my early 20s started getting acne. I didn't realize any of those things were connected with my fertility diagnosis at the time. So I went straight on a list for donor eggs. We were lucky enough on the first breast transfer to have our daughter, and she's almost 20. So this been 20 years ago. When you said donor eggs, people are like, I don't even know what that is. Now
Wow.
you've got, yeah, now you've got embryo adoption and embryo donation. So little, because of all the IVF procedures, that those are now, people can then donate and adopt eggs. So, and then, yeah, so I wanted to have my kids close together. We had 2 embryos left over, went back into the clinic, and unfortunately those didn't work. I was super stressed, so I was just sort of bound and determined to have the kids close together. And then I, um, yeah, then we went on another list for a separate donor egg. We're lucky enough to have our son on. He's 3 years apart from my daughter. And then after we had our children, and it's interesting with donor eggs. People think since they pick donor eggs that it's like a done deal, but it's still only a 50% chance of that working as well, because if you haven't addressed the underlying issues of your health, your body is not optimized. So, we help couples with, my diagnosis, so premature ovarian insufficiency or failure, low AMH, high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, get pregnant with their own eggs, or if they do need to go to the clinic, so they get pregnant naturally, or if they do need to go to the clinic, getting pregnant with their own eggs. And then also helping if someone's decided that, donor eggs are for them, we help them get pregnant with donor eggs as well. So so for myself, I was lucky, I'm very fortunate to have both my children. And then my health took a nosedive and I started getting chronic infections. So chronic bladder infections, chronic yeast infections, chronic sinus infections. I took antibiotics for all of these things, completely destroyed my gut health, and didn't, I it's interesting where I just kept going to the doctor saying, give me the prescription, and then I let someone keep going, which is, silly when I think about it, because there's lots of things we can do to besides taking antibiotics. Anyways, I took antibiotics, destroyed my gut health. I started getting vertigo, toenail infections, dandruff. I had seasonal allergies. I caught every cold and flu that went by me, but I still wouldn't have classified myself as sick.
Sure.
I was working in HR at the time, like busy, like corporate environment. And at the time, I decided I wanted to bring life coaching into the corporate environment, or coaching. So I took a coaching course, had my own personal wake up call with that, and then decided I really loved health and wellness. Took a health and wellness coaching course. And that's when I discovered I had these food sensitivities. So for me, intolerant to dairy and gluten. And then years later after that, I discovered it was corn. And then also, sorry, a little while after that, I discovered it was corn. And then years later, I discovered gut infections. So I have a number of gut infections, which I then addressed. And then really, discovered the power of the functional approach. So test, don't guess, using tests to then develop a targeted action plan to then fast track success. Because I didn't address any of those biochemical issues going on in my body, the food sensitivities, the gut infections. I had thyroid imbalance, blood sugar imbalance. Like no one even talked about any of that. They just, myopically focused on the diagnosis. So we help couples, address all of the issues. The biochemical is important, but is equally as important with the spiritual and the mental, emotional.
Wow. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing a bit on your story. But if I understand it well, is that you actually first went for the full medical approach with donor eggs and fertility treatment, and thank God it helped. You had 2 beautiful children, but you still went on a journey of wellness that took way longer, and that got you to where you are now with the fertility clinic. You're probably helping women bypass that long journey that you took. Am I right? If I conclude that?
I'm looking at the thing here. I'm trying to fix my shirt, but I can't fix it.
It's the other way around on the screen. I know. You look.
That's funny.
You look gorgeous.
Oh no. Yeah. So I guess now what was the question? I got distracted.
You get what I'm saying? You're trying to let women have a shortcut on the journey that you've taken, because you started off
Absolutely
medically, and then you realize, hey, but there's a whole underlying issues that I should have addressed, and maybe I would not have had all these infertility issues at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like when you discover the functional side of things, it's very empowering things that you can do, because a lot of times we get this diagnosis, and like me, got the diagnosis, didn't get a second opinion, which is crazy. I don't even, looking back, I'm like, well, I didn't get a second opinion. And I actually thought I had it easier than other women, that I'm like, okay, you've been told donor eggs. I'll just go down the donor eggs. I don't need to have years of treatment and trying to get my own eggs to work. I had framed that in my mind that this was the easier option, which, in hindsight, that's, when people think of it, it's like donor eggs would be the absolute last step.
Mm.
And, it was given to me as my only option. And at that
Right.
point, you looked at, forums, and there's no hope. So yeah, when you discover these things and there's like, wait, there's a reason why your body at the age of 40 is, shutting down. And if there's no genetic factors like Fragile X or Turner syndrome, and there was no genetic factors in the couples that we work with, there's typically no genetic factors. It's just something's going on with the diet and lifestyle side of things. And the body's like, wait a minute, it's not safe here. And,
Mm.
and so how do we address those to then optimize fertility?
Yeah, wonderful. Sarah, and in your experience now with working with couples, I can imagine that sometimes it just sounds like an easier approach to just, hey, give me your donor eggs, as you were thinking right in the beginning, because going through the holistic approach might take a bit more time and hard work. Are people prepared to do lifestyle changes and come to a whole, you know, whole wellness approach? What is your experience with that?
Yeah, so we typically work with people that have been trying for 2 years naturally, or have had at least one failed IVF. I'm host of the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, so getting the word out that there's things we can do now. But I find that if someone's just got the diagnosis, typically they do go down that conventional side of things. Even if they've sort of found some of the functional side of things, they're just not quite ready. Obviously, spreading the message about this, I want them to avoid all of that and start the changes now, so you don't have to go through heartache, spend tens of thousands of dollars. We have people coming to us like multiple failed IVFs, heartbreak, financial cost. And so I want them to be able to, avoid that side of things. So there's lots to do before going to that option.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. So, Sarah, you guys are in Canada and we are here in South Africa. So, how do you think can what you guys have to offer help the women here in Africa?
Yeah, so we work with couples worldwide. So we drop ship our now getting some of our tests into Africa right now is a little difficult, especially during the pandemic. Luckily, we were able to get them in, but right now, we can't get some of the tests in, and we do food sensitivity, hormone using urine, stool testing, looking at the DNA of your stool, and then also hair tissue mineral analysis. So getting some of those tests into Africa right now it can maybe get it in, but getting it across the border right now has been a little difficult. But there's still things we can do with looking at your blood chemistry. So, and we're looking at blood chemistry not to diagnose, but to educate it through functional reference ranges. So typically, you may have been told that a doctor may look at your blood chemistry, say everything is normal, whereas the functional reference ranges, they're just tighter reference ranges, and it flags it earlier before it gets to disease. So we can do that. And then also, looking at your cycle, and seeing what your cycle is happening, is going on your cycle, and then doing those diet and lifestyle changes too. We can make a lot of the foundational changes with a personalized diet for you, optimizing your sleep, getting the right movement in place, and really addressing those mental emotional side of things. And if you're feeling hopeless, being able to help with hope that there is. We've helped people get pregnant that were told donor eggs are their only option. We've helped people. Just one of our clients who's been in our program for the last 4 months, her FSH has always been around. She said anywhere between 17 to 60, and she went back in to do some checking with her physician, and her FSH is now at 7 after 4 months. So like she literally was completely shocked. We've had people that their follicle count is increased by 50% in 3 to 4 months. So, and
Wow.
obviously getting pregnant naturally too, and getting pregnant with their own eggs at the clinic. So, and these are tough cases, right? Where typically IVF, conventional side of things, fertility clinic may may not even take them because they like to have the FSH, below 10 typically. And so they're not given any options, or they may have, they keep trying. And yeah, so it is like we're seeing the results, right? Where people can be like, okay, there is hope.
Yeah. It sounds really a wonderful mission that you're on. Sarah, can you just, because I'm sure there are some basic things that apply for all pregnant couples. I'm a midwife. I talk about that with pregnant women a lot. Wanting to be pregnant couples. That even without the testing and the whole, having a more specific diet and approach, there are some basic things and lifestyle changes that we can make that will just support all women in their fertility and men. Would you mind just elaborating a little bit on those natural solutions for infertility?
Yeah, and some of these are some basic things, but some of them we may not know. I think we all know the water piece. Like, it's important to have 50 to 70% of your body weight in ounces in water per day. So that's different for everyone, but an average of 8 glasses of water. A lot of us are chronically dehydrated. That impacts our whole entire body, and especially for the cervical mucus, for the sperm to get to the egg. So you want to make sure you and your partner are drinking enough water. You want to make sure it's filtered water, and that you're drinking from a stainless steel or glass water bottle. You don't want to have plastics. Plastics are known endocrine disruptors, and so you want to avoid those at all cost. And then you want to, similarly on that, you want to make sure that your food is, if possible, to eat organic food. There's studies linked with herbicides that are sprayed on our food, linked to a whole host of other diseases, including infertility. All the toxins that we're exposed to. I interviewed for my podcast Dr. Shauna Swan, and she's an epidemiologist, and she's talking about, she did a number of studies talking about sperm count has reduced in the last 40 years over 50%. So mainly due in part to some of the environmental toxins, plastics, pesticides, phthalates, all of those things that we are exposed to in our daily life is impacting sperm and the quality of the egg. So, getting your toxins in your environment, your personal care, your cleaning products, switching to non-toxic, not throwing everything in the garbage, but slowly, as each thing expires, going to a non-toxic option. And also with the mindset around there, depending on where you are in the fertility journey, adding in mindfulness. There's studies from Dr. Alice Domar. She's a Harvard researcher and a pioneer of mind-body fertility, and she's talked about, she has groups where within 6 months of people being in her group, and it's mind-body therapy, such as mindfulness, progressive muscle relaxation, fertility yoga, like cognitive behavioral therapy, so like for talk therapy, and being able to reframe and restructure your thoughts. Within 6 months, 50% of those people in that group were pregnant, and then within 2 years, 95% of them became a mother somehow. So that piece, like working on the mindset, the spiritual component of this is equally as important with us, making sure you're going organic, and you can take it a step further too by doing an elimination diet, which is taking out the top allergens. So see a theme of most of the couples we work with, there's some sort of food sensitivity going on. So inflammation, our whole goal is to reduce inflammation, mind, body, and spirit, and get you into that parasympathetic state.
Amazing. Yeah, so I think that is very valuable information, especially for midwives that are working in the preconception phase with reproductive health solutions, that they so much more, they need to be aware of this approach. I like it that you also touch on now it is not only a female issue, but a male issue as well. And that it's, as a partner, you both need to address that. And it starts with basics, with drinking more water and eliminating toxins out of your life. We are so toxic overloaded, and that really disrupts our hormones. So before we go into more detailed tests, I think if you would try to make those lifestyle changes, you might already fall pregnant or reduce a lot of problems. Together then with the spiritual aspect, I was wondering how you tackle also it in the mind and in the spirit, because this is obviously quite in the body. I've seen, we know these typical stories also for women that couldn't fall pregnant, and then they adopt and maybe focus not so much more on the fertility issues, and then still fall pregnant. You want to share something about that?
Yeah, it's interesting with the oxytocin side of things, right? So we have couples do castor oil packs, and that can help with oxytocin, the feel good hormone. Even I interviewed the one who developed these. She has a castor oil pack where you actually just tie it, put it around your waist. You can use it during lovemaking, and it sort of gets you in that rest and relax state. So as part of our program, we include distance Reiki, and that there's no contact with the practitioner, so it's all distance Reiki, and then afterwards they receive some messages, and like some cards are pulled, and it really helps the person be like, wait a minute, and this is if that resonates with them from a spiritual standpoint. If you knew the soul of your baby was here already, like waiting for you, how would you approach this differently? And being able to like really tap into your intuition. Your body best. You're your own advocate. That's so key. And if that Reiki doesn't resonate with you, then we also have a Christian-based faith session for someone to kind of deepen their connection with like scripture or verses in the Bible, and depending on that's all different for everyone. But it is like prayer and things like that can be really helpful, because many times we may have with you may feel forsaken, or that that you've been abandoned, or it's it's your fault. We blame ourselves. We feel broken, and then some of that trauma can get lodged in the body. And even we see many people that have had like there could be trauma from childhood too. We were just talking about this on one of my podcasts, and that can be stuck in the body. So being able to work with someone, a therapist or a coach if necessary, to help process some of those emotions, and really give voice to that, because dealing with on the fertility journey, it's a very specific set of triggers. Like you could be triggered by going to your church, synagogue, temple, wherever your place of worship, because it's all families and strollers, and the thing that you want the most, it's right in your face with pregnant bellies and children and everyone kind of moving on with their life. So that when in the middle of a struggle, you want connection, and then you find yourself with withdrawing from that connection and isolating, which then makes it harder. So being able to reach out, and many of these places now are like offering support, because infertility, like it's 1 in 6 in Canada, 1 in 8 in the States, it's like 1 in 5 in the UK. Typically most of us know someone who has either with miscarriage or struggled to conceive. So to me, it's the toxic soup that we're in, with all the toxins, and our food experiment that we're all doing, with all the food that we're eating that's genetically modified, and that. So but yeah, the spiritual side of things and the triggers, just to kind of put some boundaries around that and educate the people around you. Many times we don't really know what we want until we think about, wait a minute, when someone announces has a baby announcement, do we want to be how we want our friend to tell us? What do we need? Do we need to attend every baby shower, but maybe our best friend's shower? Do we need to be the one hosting it? What do we want? And sometimes we're okay doing that. Other times we want to, arrive late, leave early. So it is very personal. And I think sometimes it is to actually think about, well, what do we want? Let's not stop thinking about everybody else. What do we need? And then educate those around us.
Yeah, sure. Let me just get in there. You touch on a lot of very good points. Thank you, Sarah. So the spiritual and approach is really important as well. As much as we know, also we live in a toxic environment. So a wonderful mission that you're on. Sarah, if women want to find out more about your podcast or about the work you do, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can find me at Get Pregnant Naturally. It's on Spotify or iTunes, and they can also join the Fertility Diet Freebie. So they go to fertilitydietfreebie.com, and we have quarterly challenges. We're just in the middle of a summer challenge right now, and it's all chef prepared recipes. You get live support from my team of fertility experts, and really helping you figure out the diet nutrition piece, how that links in with your fertility, and then how to fast track your chances of pregnancy success. So you go to fertilitydietfreebie.com.
Wonderful. We'll put all those links in our show notes as well. Thank you so much, Sarah. And lovely to have been talking to you today. And thank you for coming into our show all the way from Canada. And I wish you all the best with your work.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Take care. Let me just finish this on this side. So that was Sarah Clark all the way from Canada with a very insightful talk. Hope you enjoyed that. And I will put all the links that you refer to in our show notes. So look it up. If you know someone that is suffering with infertility, or if it's you, this is a wonderful resource. I hope it will help you. Thank you so much.